In this tutorial, we're going to create a very simple mouth rig with controllers. So the first thing I'll do is hold down Alt and click this circle here. And now I can select it, stretch it out, and I want to make this editable. So with this selected, I'll go into my shape menu, make editable. And now we've got an editable shape and the original. So I'll select the original, hit delete, get rid of that one. And I've got a mouth. So let's select it, press enter, call it mouth. I'm going to actually call that mouth base. This is going to be the original base shape. So the next thing I want to do is create some teeth. I'm going to draw this with the pen tool, and I'm going to click somewhere around here. I'll hold down shift and click here, and I'll put some point right about here, and I'm going to click and drag, but I'm going to hold down shift to constrain that handle so I get a curve, and I'm going to hold down shift again and click and drag. And I'm still holding down shift as I drag. So I get a straight line, I get a straight handle, and when I click this point here, we'll get our teeth how I want them. And I want them to be straight across. They don't have to be, but that's just the way I want them. That's the teeth that I want. Now I just want to color them. So grab it with this tool, just so I know I got everything. And I really should name this first. So let's hit return or enter and call this teeth. And I'll Alt double click on the teeth. So I see they got a stroke, which I don't want. They don't have a fill, which I do want. And I'll click on the swatch here and I'll make this a off-white color. Something like that should work. And now we've set up our base mouth and teeth. Let's now mask out the teeth. So I just click this little dot of the mouth layer and drag it to the teeth layer. Hover over this little mask text and then click this button here. And we've got the mask that we want. It just automatically hides the mouth layer, and we just turn this eyeball on. Now let's create some lips here. So I'll select the mouth layer and I'll click this little circle button, which gives us an outline. And we got a really thin outline. So let's go to the width, increase that, something like that. And let's change the color. So I'll go to fill, find a color that works. That should work. And the teeth are in front of the lips, so we just click and drag this up here so we see that white line, and I'll select this, press enter, I'll call this lips. And all right, we're in good shape now. Let's select all three of those by clicking and dragging, press Control G. Now we've got a group, we'll call this mouth group. And now if I want to move the mouth, I just select the entire group and I can move them all together and everything is still working. So the next step is to create some shapes that we could use for blend shapes. So I'm going to select the mouth base layer and I will duplicate it, let's say 3 times. So Control D, 1, 2, 3. And notice that the original selected layer is at the bottom. So this is our original mouth, and these are our 3 duplicates. So if I move those, you see, okay, they're all moving together. If I select this one, I move it, my lips are going with it, and I know that's the wrong one. So the duplicates show up on top. And now I'll just move them into different spots here. Let's keep this kind of in order, something like that. And so this is this one, this one, this one, and now let's name them. So this one we'll call this one. This one will be our angry mouth. And this one will be our, sometimes you got to click and press enter a couple times before you get it right, but it could be just me. This will be our ooh mouth. And the thing we do now is add a blend shape to this layer. So we'll select this layer, Alt, double click on it so we could focus in over here. And we find the deformers, click on the plus sign, and we'll go add blend shape to this. So we'll click on blend shape, and let's Alt double click on our blend shape. Now we've got 1 slot, but we've got 3 shapes here. So we'll hit the plus, add here, and now we've got 3 slots for our 3 shapes. And I'll take the happy, drag its blue dot over this text input field, and now we got that. I'll do the same thing with the angry, drop that in this slot. And the ooh will go here. So now what we need to do is just focus in here because we're making them all, they're all set to 100%. So we'll just leave mouth happy at 100%. And now here's our mouth happy, and we can grab this selection tool here. And if I bring this up, you'll see our blend shape seems to be working, which is good news. And we could make this however we want. And if you want to make one side higher than the other, that's up to you. And this will be fine. And let's say this is what we want. Okay, so the next thing is set this strength down to 0 and set the angry up to 100%. And then we'll go to our angry shape here. And let's see, how do we want to make this one angry? Maybe bring this up, maybe kind of have a growl or a sneer or something like that, whatever you want to call it. And I don't know, maybe we'll tighten this one up, something like that. Okay, so I think that works. And you don't have to be perfect. Like if it's a little bit off and you want it to be higher or lower, one corner later, this is all editable after the fact. So I don't have to feel like I'm locked in here. Okay, so let's bring this down to 0. Let's take this one up to 100% and select our ooh shape. And I'll just kind of bring this up. I don't want to go too high or I'm going to see above the teeth. And I'll bring this down. And if you're going off the screen, you could always just take this layer, move it into view better, and then start editing again. I'll bring this in, and maybe stretch this out a bit. And you could bring, since we have no bottom teeth or tongue to worry about, we could really bring this down as far as we want. But let's go with something like this and call that done. And now these shapes are finished. We could just hide them. Let's take a look at how the blend shapes work. So we just change these sliders, but you'll notice if I change this one or this one, the blend shape at the bottom of the list always has a precedence here if we have the set to replace. But if we want, I'll bring these all down back to 0. If we want, we can hit deltas, and now you'll see we could bring this one up, and then we bring this one to 100%, and these will now overlap with each other, so you can get combinations of shapes, which is really interesting. So if we do this one and then mix it with this one, we can get some different looks, and we can mix these two together, and you can see, you know, there's a certain extent to where that they'll look good if you put them all together. Actually, let's click the mouth group, select it with this tool, and bring it down so it could see things. Okay, so yeah, if you have them all on, you know, you might get a weird look. So just be mindful of that. You can get combinations, but just be careful. Okay, so let's bring these all down to 0, and let's set up some controllers here. Actually, I'll move them. Make sure I move the mouth group, but not any of the individual parts. Now what we could do is make some controls. Okay, to make a visual interface with sliders, basically a GUI, we'll alt click on this circle here. Now what I want to do is, well, I'm going to zoom in with the scroll wheel and click and drag one of these corners with shift held down to make this smaller. And then I will also give it a different color so it stands out a bit. Let's give it maybe a light blue color. And okay, so that's good. I just want to put a background for that. So I'll alt click on this rectangle, and the rectangle should be below the ellipse. Let's name these just so we know what's what. Select it, press enter. Slider, select this one, press enter. Slider background. And I'm gonna also squash this down this way. So the next thing I want to do is take my slider and I'll alt double click on it so I could see exactly where it is. I'll set this to 100 so I know, okay, this is 100% representation, and I'll just stretch this up. And this doesn't have to be exact, and just want this to give me an idea of my values. So I'll set this back to 0, select it, zero it out here. The next thing I want to do is put a little label so I know what this is going to control. Select type tool, click down here. I'll put an H and put this right underneath, something like that. Okay, so we're in good shape. We got everything that we need. I just want to have a little bit of extra control here. So that this doesn't go side to side. So I'm going to Alt double click on that, and I'm going to right click on position and add a behavior, and I'm going to add a value to the Y, to the X, sorry. Just make sure you're not on the Y, you're not on the X, you're not over the name here, you're on the X, and you get what you need. So now as long as we don't change anything in here, we're good. So I'll lock this, collapse this, and we really never have to worry about that again. So you'll see I can't go left and right, only up and down. I can go above and below, but that's okay because we could overdrive the value. So let's now group this together, grab everything, press Control G, and let's name this Control Happy. And with this selected, I could just collapse this for now. I'm going to press Control D to duplicate, and one more time. And we've got, this is our first duplicate. So let's move this over. Let's double click on this. And I'll call this happy. Then we go angry. And then this is our third copy. So if I don't see it selected, I'll just hit this little arrow. And then, okay, here we go. And I'll move this over. And we'll double click on this one. And we'll just put an O here for ooh. We're in good shape. Let's select these, make sure we got the right name. So this is, select this, press enter. Call this angry. And select this one, press enter, and put this here. Okay, so let's now connect this. And if I want, I could select this slider, but you'll see we can't see it in here. But the good thing is if I select something from this group, I'll see a little green line here. If I select something from this group, I'll see a little green line here. So it's easy to find where it is. I just have to expand this out. And I'll Alt double click on this. And I actually had it here already, but it's just good to Alt double click on things to kind of focus. Now I need to select my blend shape. I don't want to Alt double click. I'll just do a regular double click. So now I see that I've got the blend shape and I've got the slider. And now I just need to drag the Y value from the slider onto the strength value for my happy. And let's just test it out to see if it's working. So yeah, it is happy, and we're happy that it's working. So what I want to do is just see how this works. So you could see, not only do we have this shape here, but we could go in the negative direction, and we're kind of getting a frowning face for free without even having to draw it. So, and also we can go, this is 100%, but we don't need to just stop there. We can overdrive this, and we can make him so happy that his mouth twists into weird pretzel shapes. So just note, you could overdrive it, but you got to be careful with how far you go with it. And I'll zero this slider out here, and we just do the same for this one. So we select that, we'll find it here. Let's collapse this group, and we'll expand this group. And I'll just Alt double on that, and then regular double on the blend shape. You could pin it here too, not the slider, but pin the blend shape, because we need to look at this often. So now let's make sure we got the right thing selected here. So yeah, this is the slider for the angry group, and I can, if I'm not sure, I could just Alt double click on that, and you see, okay, we got the slider, and the blend shape stayed pinned even though we did the Alt double click. And we'll just drag this onto our mouth angry. You probably don't want to go too far in the negative on this one, but you have the option. So the last one is this one. So I'll select it, I'll see, okay, here's my green line. I'll collapse that, I'll expand this one. I'll Alt double click on it. And now we've got the correct values here. So we'll just drag this one onto the strength of our ooh. And we'll move this up and down. So this is good because we got this ooh shape. We also, if we go into negative, we have kind of a closed mouth. And I'll just zero this out. So yeah, so it's pretty nice because we've got our controls here. We could take them all at once and press Control G, and we could say something, call it something like, to be all our controls, so that if we needed to take this, move it over, we've got that option. We've got our mouth here. We got it grouped, so we could make sure we select the group. We can move the whole thing wherever we want. And we've got sliders where we could animate the mouth, all kinds of different positions. And, you know, just keyframe these values by pressing here and going here. And we basically have a mouth rig. If you want to learn more about rigging in Cavalry's beta, you can click one of the buttons to the left or right, or click the button in the middle to subscribe and find more interesting stuff.